Good afternoon. I'm Jemilia Erickson, here to bring you today's Midday interview. We have a new show opening tomorrow night here in the WHQR Gallery, and it will run for July, August, and September, and I'm glad because it's going to be a spectacular show, and I'm glad we can keep it for a while. Wendy Kowalski, the featured artist, is here, and the show is called Amplify, Kowalski Paintings, Drawings, Sculpture, Kinetics, and more. So first of all, Wendy, thank you for coming in to talk with me.
Thank you, Jemilia.
Now, first of all, talk to us about the reason you paint, your technique, and what it means to you.
When I paint, I think a lot about the space around us, and I use a technique. It's an Italian technique called sfumato, which means softened edges. I'm really concerned about this because it's part of what transcends me when I paint, knowing that the environment is part of us and it goes in and out of us, and the paint flows that way too. So I'm concerned a lot about transcendence in the artwork, and when I'm really into the paint, it takes me in between to a really happy place. And I like to think that when people look at a painting and they also go to that happy place, perhaps the painter and the person viewing it are connected in a space. And I'm really interested in finding out where that space is and what that's all about.
The in-between space. I like that. Why do you call the show Amplify? What does that mean to you?
I titled it Amplify because I attended Burning Man in the fall, and I'm also really moved by music when I paint. And when I went out to the desert, I was so impressed by how enormous and ginormous all of the artwork is out there. And I wanted to bring a little bit of that back here to Wilmington.
Great. Tell people who don't know what Burning Man is.
Oh, Burning Man is an art festival. It takes place out in the desert, very far from civilization, and it's basically a volunteer kind of community that's set up just for a week, and it runs like a city. This past time around, there were 55,000 people.
55,000. Yeah. That's amazing. And where is it?
It's called Black Rock City, and it's in Nevada.
Wow. Now, talk about something else. I was looking at some of the paintings that are already in the gallery, and there are more to come over the next day and a half. There's a lot of circus performers. There's kind of a Moulin Rouge feeling to things, and there's a very, very theatrical and colorful aspect to your work. I understand that you have sort of another world you think about called Nebulon. Tell us about Nebulon.
Nebulon is that happy in-between place, and it's where we go when we're dancing, and we look at our partner and we see that their eyes are closed while they're dancing, perhaps, and they're in that blissful place, and that's Nebulon.
Wonderful. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the various art forms that are in the show. I know that you use acrylics, mixed media, and sculpture. Talk to us about those different medium that you use.
I do. Mostly I paint, and just recently I've become more involved in making the paintings into three-dimensional works. So some of the pieces that you'll see are sculptures that play off of the paintings, and they're made out of mixed media, out of papers, metals. And a lot of the paintings themselves are on wood, and they're very sculpture-like themselves because I construct the wood.
I see some of the paintings kind of moving out from the wall and toward the viewer, which is really wonderful. And so the sculpture that you do, what do you work with? You said metal and wood and paper.
It's really new to me. It's kind of a papier-mâché process. It's just very messy. I bring out the glue pot. I've done it when I've just become sort of obsessed and in the moment, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not sure where it's going. Perhaps there's a disco ball in the future down the road. That's the only thing I've thought of actually sculpting.
I think that's an interesting aspect of being an artist. I only have very tiny experience with it, but I can remember my first time sitting at a wheel and throwing a pot. It's like once I began to do it, the clay seemed to have a life of its own, and I had no idea what it was going to turn into. If it would be a bowl or a vase or whatever, it's like it was making itself. So the art sometimes kind of overcomes you and takes you somewhere. Does that happen with you?
Oh, most definitely. And I try to leave an open space for things like that to happen, for those happy circumstances to fall into place.
That's great. If you're just joining us, I'm talking with Wendy Kowalski. She's a very inspired and inspiring artist who has a show opening tomorrow night here at WHQR. It's called Amplify, Kowalski Paintings, Drawings, Sculpture, Kinetics, and more. Wendy, talk to us about where you work. Where do you paint and draw and sculpt? Do you have a studio at home or?
I have a studio. It's outside my home, and it's with other woodworkers. It's very inspiring. I'm learning how to use a lot of power tools, which is great. The studio is called Studio Nebulon, and it's downtown Wilmington, kind of near Greenfield Lake.
And do you work with models, or do you work with your imagination when you're painting the human figure?
I work a lot from photographs, and mostly I paint people who I've met at festivals or out and about, people who have inspired me. So I'll use photographs of them, or I'll have them do sittings, but mostly it's from photographs.
Have you been to a lot of circuses? There seem to be a lot of circus performers in your work, or are they people that you've met that strike you as they could belong in a circus and fit in?
They are. I have not been to the circus. I have not been to Cirque du Soleil. I would love to go. I listen to the music when I paint.
Oh, you would just be over the moon if you got to see Cirque du Soleil. It's incredible stuff. Now let's talk a little bit in the time that we have left about the collaboration that you have with other folks for the show. I understand that on Friday night you'll have a DJ, you'll have a pole dancer. Talk about what's going to be happening on Friday night, tomorrow night.
There's a fantastic DJ. His name is Chris Corsello, and he plays a lot of dub and beats and club music, basically. And I've been super inspired by him. A lot of times I'll paint to his music, and it transports me, and it makes amazing paintings. And the other person that's coming is Jamie Poletti, and she is a Wilmington person who does pole dancing. And it's more than just dancing. It's an art form. It takes a lot of strength, and she's just fabulous, and I'm thrilled she's coming.
I am new to understanding what pole dancing is. I had a different idea of it from what it's turning out to be, what it's becoming. My mother loves to watch America's Got Talent on television, and there have been a couple of pole dancers on this season, and they really are extraordinary athletes and dancers. And it's amazing to watch someone who's really good at it and has put in the enormous amount of work that it takes to be good at it. Coming up, the show runs, as I said, from July, August, and September, all 3 months. And Wendy, I'll have you come in and talk about this more in depth when we get in September, but just kind of give us a little sneak preview of the finale of the show in September. What will be happening then?
September, the show will definitely amplify. There will be larger pieces of artwork with more kinetics and movable parts, so it'll be more interactive. And the space here at WHQR will be really exciting. There's going to be acrobats coming who will do acro yoga and juggling. Out on the street, we're inviting stilt walkers to come down. Anyone who does stilt walking will have a flash mob stilt walking group in front of WHQR. And I'm really excited.
Wonderful. Any last thoughts, anything you really want our listeners to know about you as an artist or about the show that you'd like to share in this moment? Just anything.
Anything at all.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm on the spot. I'm just really excited about where art is taking people, and I think it definitely can transport us into a more of a unity, and I'm happy about that, whether it's art in music or performance or dance. I think it's all headed in a good place.
It makes connections for us, doesn't it? Yes. If you'd like to know more about Wendy Kowalski or see her work, please do join us tomorrow night from 6 to 9 here in the WHQR Gallery at 254 North Front Street. The show is called Amplify, Kowalski Paintings, Drawings, Sculpture, Kinetics, and more. And if you'd like to see some of her work ahead of time, there's some on our website, WHQR.org, or you can go to Wendy's own website, which is becomefreedom.com, but it's spelled like comb, like a comb of honey, BEECOMB, freedom.com. Wendy, thank you for coming in and talking with me today.
Thank you, Jemilia. It's been a pleasure.
I know you had to pull yourself out of your painting mode and kind of get yourself into conversational mode, and that transition might not have been easy, but I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is 91.3 WHQR.